implement the manufacturing software through Odoo, where with the minimal wastage of your production line items, right? My name is Ankit. I'm a CEO at Uncanny, right? And we have office in Ahmedabad and we're manufacturing things that there would be no delays in the production line items, or there would be no any delays in the procurements or any of the supply which is coming to their way, right? Then now we talk about like there is a problem that of a stock, right? Like sometimes there is a less stock, sometimes there is a more stocks, right? Because we can't forecast, because we do not have any proper system in place that which give us a proper forecasting reports, right? So, or let's say that like these are the I would say the things that everyone wanted, right? Because no piles of extra stock, no wasted materials, or everything working well, right? It's like a dream come true for any manufacturing person, right? So practically, how we can achieve those things without a system in place, in my opinion, that cannot be possible, right? So either you have to in order to grow the system, you need a particular processes and the production line to align, which can automate your processes. So yes, as I mentioned, that's easily possible, right? So how we will do that? That is, I will gonna present in the next coming slides, and what are the things that needs to be taken care, and some of the real scenarios which we have faced during some of the implementation, and how we have overcome those things. That I'm gonna summarize in coming slides. So, like in any of the business, there are some of the things which are hidden, right? Which we might not have seen, which is causing the delays in any of the productions or any of the businesses to grow or expand, right? Such as there is overproductions, right? So there is a lot of production items which are on sale, right? Which we cannot sell out, or because it might get outdated, right? Some of the things are very unnecessary processes, unnecessary approvals, which causing the delays in the productions or any of the supply chain cycles, right? Then it's come of the waiting, like there are goods which are we are in waiting, right? That supplier is not able to complete the delivery or fulfillment of the raw materials on time, right? Then there is a possibility of rework, right? That some of the worker might not have followed the instruction which should be followed during the production line item, right? Which leads to a lot of this of the processes, which could delay your rework, your finances problem, cash flow issues, right? So these are the which are the hidden challenges which everyone faces in the production line items, right? So now how we will see that how we can overcome these challenges, right? So now we talk about what is the magic we are going to put up through the Odoo, right? So first of all, we have to see where are the bottlenecks, right? That we need to identify those bottlenecks. What is the problem, right? Then is there any shortcuts, right? Practically in any business there won't be any shortcuts, right? Practically there won't, right? So we have to go through the standard processes and the compliances which every system needs in place, and then we have to identify what are the problems which reasons where we are getting stuck in order to expand or take certain decisions, right? At the management level there are some financial decisions are not transparent. At production level, expansion of those things cannot be done without looking at certain data or automations, right? So for example, like what are the things we're going to do with the automation? Like for example, everyone needs a system. When your stock gets low, you get notified that your stock is going to be low in coming days, right? So through those notifications, everyone feels that okay, I'm in a place to buy or produce something that is going to sell in coming days, right? Because of a high demand, right? Second example, which I would say is there is no delays in production line item, because how we can overcome is automatically assign the work orders or the job work to the different people, right? So that whenever they are ideal, they automatically gets the work to do, right? So there is no payouts to the people who are not doing anything, right? And the third thing is that supplier, right? So we have to also keep us, we able to track the suppliers things, that how they gonna deliver, what is the delivery lead time, and how we can overcome those production line items, right? So all this can be achieved, right? And how, right? So that's what I mentioned earlier, right? That we're gonna come up with some real-time stories which we have implemented through some of the manufacturers in India and also in overseas as well, right? So one of them would be is the we have one of the bottle manufacturer entire business on Excel, right? So problem which he used to face is, he cannot see the inventory forecast, right? And due to that, he always facing delays, right? And sometime out of the blues, when he gets a larger order, he cannot fulfill those things, right? So this is the like what we have before. These are the problems as I mentioned earlier, right? So there is a large amount of production either he has to do, due to that he need a larger space to store, and which costs at that extra money, right? And also in order when he produce something, there is a large amount of capital that he needs to pay to the people who has do the job work, right? And the third is the obsolescence, right? So there's a probability there is some materials which has been produced could be damaged or outdated, which cannot be sent when the actual order has been placed, right? So those are the actual problem has been faced. So how when we automate those things, he actually able to reduce his 40%, in terms of his management or in terms of his scarcity of stocks as well, right? So real time, these are the challenges which we have solved, right? So how we have done that? So we have placed certain automatic reordering rule based on the demand, right? So there is a minimum threshold, maximum threshold which we have maintained for raw material as well as for the production line items, right? Then we have make sure that he don't invest so much capital in production that he's all occupied in that, right? So we are able to free that capital and he focus on certain other expansion plan for his business, right? And there is no need of this. There is a large warehouse no needed because they're producing based on demands and the certain forecasted inventory which can only last for a month, right? So where he able to reduce his cost in the warehouses or some extra space. Now know how food manufacturer working, right? So the real challenges which they face is the expiry and the tracking of the cereal and the raw material which is going to supply to the further cafes or restaurants, right? So the quality and the waste is very high due to the FCI compliances or a lot of other places. So what are the problems he used to face? So the procurement. So in order to produce any of the food materials, he needs a procurement from supplier, right? So whenever any food distributor or manufacturer, they deals with a lot of supplier. So they buy with a different supplier. People keep calling that this raw material is might have damage or lot of things they are used to face, right? So their majority time get processed in that things, right? And second is the storage, right? As I mentioned, so every manufacturer has a problem of the storage because without if they get so much of raw material which cannot be produced, right, then it's also the wastage of money and all those things, right? And then dispatch, right? They cannot track the deliveries of the raw material or neither the deliveries of the finished goods to the different cafes or restaurants, because there is a lot of deliveries going on in a different size and the materials, right? So how we do this is we have enabled the supplier portal, right? So what we did is we have given a supplier a portal where they can place their purchase request, procurement request, and based on the managerial criteria based in the background, they approve and reject the procurement request from the different supplier, right? And they make sure that this supplier has been on time on delivery of the goods and a lot of other things, right? So based on those things, we have set up certain KPIs for their own supplier as well, which is makes them responsible to deliver the goods on time, right? And based on that, storage time has been reduced and the dispatch, right? So yes, majority food products are on expiry. So what we did is in Odoo there is a possibility of first expiry first out, right? So whenever any goods are going to expire first, they will notify them that this good needs to be dispatched first, right? So that rather than before the expiry, no goods has been stay on the shelf. And in India also a lot of cast a lot of things are going on. But in casting, the labors are too many and there is not educated labor is there, right? So there is a lot of approval process before it goes to the job board. There's a lot of measurements needs to be taken care because there is a primary thing is improve the production time, right? And that is what we have achieved through by implementing different workflow approval levels and alerts at the particular time where human intervention is the primary need, right? So this was the primary thing where we implemented automated approvals, alerts, which makes the process of their 25% faster by not going to manually into any of the departments or any particular employees for specific to give an approval on specific things, right? So which gives them notification through mobile app or through the desktop application where they can do the approvals, right? So this is what we have solved, right, on the real time. right? To do the easy processes in place, right? What are the five easy tools for them, right? Which they need to take care when they are starting even a small business of production line, right? So the first is the always need to come up with the reorder rules, or I would say the minimum maximum to maintain the quantity so that they don't over invest on the manufacturing side or the producing of the quantity or the storage facilities, right? Second is that use the barcode scanning, right? Wherever there is a possibility, we make sure that every product has a barcode link with it, right? Which reduces their time and reduces the margin of error as well. And when there is a stock dips, as we have triggered auto purchase request from the specific suppliers, right? So that they make sure that goods are coming on time before the manufacturing actually plays start. Right? And then we also encourage the founders and the entrepreneurs that you should produce in a batch rather than produce like wait as you get 10 quantity order to start production. That will increase your cost at the end, right? So what we makes them to do is doing a batches, which is give a larger chunks of the batch to produce, and it's also the reduces the cost as well for labor and also the electricity and other miscellaneous cost. Right? So this is one of the key criteria as well. And then we say that rather than dealing with the supplier on the phone calls or anything, if you have a standard processes set up, give the supplier a portal which enables them that to place their own orders through their own responsibilities. And what we need to do, right? So there are a lot of people like also in a right even in India right now as well. They have a paper and pen. They go and manually count each and line item, how many pallets, how many stock line item in which cell, right? Which at then is more work to them, right? And there is a discrepancy chances are very high, right? So we don't recommend those things, right? So as I mentioned, pen is also similar for dispatches, right? So there is no standard dispatch processes everyone is following. So they try to scan or nothing has been done. So they think that it's extra expenses for them right now. So they use pen and paper and put up someone labor who is just can write the things, right? So we don't recommend those things as well. And bulk panic buy. So sometimes what happens due to like market crisis, right? Some like right now, if there's a tariff war going on, so people sometimes panic and start buying raw material to just store them, right? Which because just because of the market panic, right? But they don't see any forecasted for their own self, and at the end spending huge amount of money in buying, which cause them a financial crunch, right? And fourth is overproduction, right? So sometimes when they buy a lot of stuff, they at the end have to make something out of it, right? And that is the reason of the overproduction as well, right? And chasing vendors, right? So sometimes when they do the subcontract or some products have been buy from the side goes on or energy goes on this side, right? Rather than focusing on their key parameters, right? So what we recommend that what actually they need to do from tomorrow, if any of the small founders or the manufacturers say, what they need to do ideally, right? That we are going to come up with the 7 days execution plan, right? And what are the things they need to start with it? Like first is the find top three delays, right? What does that mean, right? First, you need to sit with your core team, I mean, who is your core, subsequent responsible people to see that what are actually the pain point which is causing any delays, which is not letting you grow, right? So understand those criteria and get an idea of those things, and then note down all those things, right? Second is what are the repetitive mistakes are happening, right? What is the frequent errors? What are the escalations are coming from the clients, right? What are the escalations are coming from suppliers, right? So those are the repeated. Is there how much frequently that is coming, right? So based on those things, we have to note down all those problems as well. And third, study moving versus sitting short. This is the one of the key aspects for any financial decision, right? That they produce so many SKUs that they can't identify which is the main product which is kept on moving and which one is not even moving and which is just sitting idle on the shelf, right? So for they need to identify those things, and then they need to see that what are the action plan they need to do, right? And then list the repeat manual task, right? What are the things that is manually has been done, right? Like they need to use, right, even like as I mentioned, manual stock counts, manual dispatch notes, manual credit notes. If those are the manual works have been going on, they need to note down and see that is there a way to modify those things, right? And then also connect with the down layer, like what is the job work, what are the challenges they are facing as a team, right? Which slows them down for production cycle as well, right? So once you get all those things, what we recommend is you can connect with the someone who is a Odoo expert or any of the person who is a ERP expert in your company or someone, right? Even like where we also sometimes go as a consulting partner on a factories to visit and understand how they operate, right? So we do all thorough analysis and also come up with those pain points and how they can solve as well, right? And based on those things, what we do is we map all the pain points with the Odoo standard flow and come up with the standard processes that needs to be, remove extra blockers or extra processes that could, slow down their growth, right? So these are the action item which we generally recommend to the any entrepreneur. Now, problem here in India is people think this is as an expense, where we only think investments are only in mutual fund, stock market, and all those things, right? But this, if you're based like any building based on the build on the base, right? If your base and the processes with system in place, you can grow to 10 times as well in the next coming year, right? So this is people need to think who are a small or larger entrepreneur, right? They need to plan the budget in a way that as an investment that will grow in next 5 to 10 years, which allow their operations to grow, right? So this is something that everyone needs to think in this manner rather than as an expense, right? This is some of the things which we would recommend to any of the founders, right? So in that's our journey, right? And that's what we do. We try to make the system which is usable for any founder in any of the place, like it's Odoo or even in any other tech stack of e-commerce. So thank you. Any questions or anything that anyone has to ask? Yes, sir.
You mentioned supply portal. This is something you created using a website,
Yes.
Odoo website.
Yes, yes.
And what does it do? It lets the vendor.
So generally what we did is that we have in a background, actually in the purchase request, the managers is going to approve or reject, or they negotiate on the portal itself rather than calling that your pricing are not worth or you very too much high or too much low, right? That's how we have given the portal to a supplier. When they place an order, the manager gets notified that this item has been placed in order, and in the background they go and approve or reject. Or even there is a price negotiation, they log a note there. Kindly revise price according to this price.
They have a view of the inventory also.
Yes, 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 yes.
So,
So the portal one is a custom one, right? The backend is because see in like there is also like right one reason for doing this is lot of supply, right? Every supplier cannot have access of backend, which at that cost you as a licensing fee, right? In a long run, sometimes they see as an expense. Even right now, they feel very high amount of money has been spent on licensing, right? So what we did is because if there are people who deal with hundred of suppliers, so what we make them enable is entire custom model where the portal is there. They go, they select they only see their own products which they are selling to them, right? Select their product, define the number of quantities, and they will see define the when they are able to deliver the goods, right? And based on that only, their order will goes in the backend, and only manager who has the authority to approve or reject get notified and they do the backend because they are the actual user of the system. Yeah, we have done that. We can also give you a demonstration for that.
It's a one-time access to the new vendor which you want to onboard. What's the access given to regular vendor?
So see, generally there any manufacturer they deal with certain 5 to 10 who frequently areas. We come up with the smartest way is that they need to define the number of product, what is the primary pricing for them, and what is the delivery lead time. If there's certain criteria met, then they only invite on the portal, and then only they get the access to place an order, and then only manager will give you an approval.
So how much time does it take? For example, you talked about customization, right? So if such customization needs to take place, right? Then how much time will it take to get that portal ready so that a manufacturer manager will also need some time for training their team as well.
Thing has been customized mapped with the standard Odoo vanilla, right? So we're able to do that in a few weeks.